September 5th, Chicago. Tomorrow I go to school to have my ID picture taken. Teachers wear them on lanyards around their necks so they'll have something to fool with when they get nervous. 1 week from tomorrow I'll have my first class and I'm still working on an outline. Tonight I remembered that I don't know anything about point of view or about anything really. So far I've gotten along okay, but as the teacher you're kind of supposed to be on top of it. My greatest fear is having someone like Ed in my class, the editor of the school paper. He writes articles about the nuisance of cigarette smoke and City Hall's feelings about artist spaces. Were he in my class, he could easily point out my inadequacies. I can point them out too, of course, but I'm not the student, and I worry that in defending myself, I'll sound too desperate. September 6th. Tomorrow is the cocktail party for faculty, and I found a $5 bill on the street. I'm thinking I'll spend it on magazines. One thing I'll buy is this week's New Yorker, which has a Joan Didion letter from Los Angeles in it. September 8th. Last month, Evelyn's electric bill was $345. Kim's was $109. Shirley's was $280. Mine was $35. September 9th. I came upon 2 evangelists on State Street this morning, both conservatively dressed white women in their late 30s. One handed out pamphlets while the other preached. "Oh, just look at that," she said into her microphone as a young woman walked by. "The way she's dressed, she's asking for it, begging to be raped. And when she is raped, she'll deserve every single minute of it and eventually burn in hell." It seemed harsh to me, her judgment. If the young woman had stopped to listen, would she have been redeemed? September 13th. I realized I was a teacher when I felt warm during class and got up to open the door. Later on, there was noise in the hallway, so I got up and shut it. Students can't open and close the door whenever they feel like it. For my first day, I wore a white linen shirt and striped tie, black trousers, and my good shoes. At the start of the session, I had 9 students. Then 1 dropped out, so now I have only 8. September 22nd. I played my class a taped speech given by a woman named Nancy Sipes. It's about selling Amway, and while my sister Amy and I think it's just the best thing ever, one of my students thought differently and dropped the course during her 15-minute break. Then I was down to 7, but luckily 2 more students added the class, so now I'm up to 9. September 24th. I started a small job for Malik, the Indian man at R.J. Peen's, who has dark brown spots in both his eyes not far from the pupils. All I'm doing is stripping a door. To make less mess, I took off the hinges and carried it outside to a small backyard. I worked alone until 3 women inside I stepped out and took seats in lawn chairs. They asked me a question in English and then speak among themselves in a language I wasn't familiar with. One of the women told me she studied chemistry at Northwestern and asked me if I was a student. I said no, I was a teacher. Then she said something to the other women in their language and they all laughed. She asked how much I made teaching one class, and that drew even more laughter. One of the 3 women, the oldest of the 3, was a guard. Her friends doubled over at her wry observations. I worried I might ruin their afternoon in the sun with my harsh-smelling chemicals, but once it had been established that I made the least amount of money, I became invisible, and they carried on as if I were there. September 26th. This morning, Malik answered the door in what either was a pair of pajamas or an Indian about-the-house suit. A knee-length shirt with a Nero collar and a loose pair of matching trousers. His face, neck, and chest were blotched with powder. I couldn't tell if it was fresh or if he'd worn it to bed. In the afternoon, I met his 5-year-old son, who was very sweet and asked kind questions. At Mitchell's restaurant, Amy and I sat next to an insane woman who was missing her front teeth, and who had shredded her napkins and placemat. The paper littered the floor around her, as did torn-up bits of pancake. She spoke in 3 distinct voices, one of them rough and deep like Linda Blair's in The Exorcist. After sitting for a while talking to herself, the woman got up and went to the bathroom. She was in there for a long time, and when Amy couldn't stand it any longer, she went to see what was going on. The door was locked, but she could hear the woman on the other side cursing in one voice and defending herself in another. 5 minutes later, she came out, pushed her bangs away from her face, and said to the waitress, "Sorry about the mess, love," in an English accent, as if she were Haley Mills and had just spilled a glass of wine. After she left, the manager said, "Go check the washroom." She walked out of here too happy. The waitress ignored him, so Amy went in and reported that there was water all over the floor. The jar was packed with toilet paper, paper towels, and part of the sun tubs. All the soap had been bitten in half, and there were crumbs in the sink. September 27th. This afternoon, Professor Sedaris addressed a dead audience, even asked the mother of two who answers with questions with questions. In his usual confrontation, said nothing. I drowned the silence. Then I babbled, hoping someone would maybe stick an oar in to just shut me up. Sometimes that just happens, said Sandy, a fellow teacher, when I saw her in the office. Jim says that maybe next semester I can teach 2 classes, but right now that sounds like a nightmare. It would make me eligible for health insurance, which I'll need after I slit my wrist. What did I do wrong today?